Travis Mercer stood at the edge of his Manhattan penthouse terrace, 42 stories above the world he'd conquered. The wind cut across his face, but he didn't flinch. 16 years as a Marine sniper had taught him to embrace discomfort. 8 years building Mercer Tech into a billion-dollar fintech empire had taught him to wear it like armor. He watched the city lights shimmer across the East River, scotch in hand, waiting for his wife to emerge from the elevator. Savannah was 30 minutes late. Again, his phone buzzed. A message from his security team. Unauthorized access attempt detected. Administrative code, S. Mercer 1. Travis's jaw tightened. S. Mercer 1 was Savannah's login ID. She was trying to access folders she had no business touching. Again. Honey? Savannah's voice carried from the foyer, her Mississippi drawl still intact despite 7 years in Manhattan. You wouldn't believe the traffic coming up from Midtown. He slipped the phone into his pocket and turned. Savannah glided onto the terrace, champagne flute already in hand. Her blonde hair cascaded down her back, catching the moonlight. She wore emerald silk that hugged curves that had launched 1,000 fantasies and a few magazine covers. 7 years of Manhattan living hadn't dulled her trailer park confidence, just refined its edges. Late meeting? Travis asked, leaning in to kiss her cheek. Her perfume was different tonight, sharper, more expensive. Budget revisions for the charity gala, she said, meeting his eyes with practiced ease. Your brother called the office again, by the way. Travis's expression darkened. Brent knows better than to call my company. He sounded desperate, baby. Her fingers traced his jawline. Family's family. Not all family. Travis turned back toward the skyline. Brent was the reason he'd spent 18 months in physical therapy, learning to walk again after Fallujah. A failed extraction, a broken promise, a betrayal that cost 2 Marines their lives. What did he want? Just to talk. Said he has a new investment opportunity. She sipped her champagne. I told him you were too busy playing king of the castle to take calls from peasants. Travis caught the edge in her voice. Careful, Savannah. You weren't exactly born into royalty yourself. Her laugh was like broken glass wrapped in velvet. Oh, don't I know it. You never let me forget my humble beginnings. She twirled away, silk catching the wind. But I learned quick, didn't I? 7 years from double wide to Dior. 8, he corrected. It's been 8 years since I found you at that truck stop diner. My mistake, she smiled thinly. Time flies when you're climbing social ladders. Travis watched her stare out at the city, her gaze hungry, calculating. There was a time he'd found that ambition irresistible. Now it made him uneasy. I'm heading into the office early tomorrow, he said. The Singapore deal is closing. Of course it is. She didn't look at him. You always win, don't you, Travis? Something in her tone made him pause. Not always, but enough. Later that night, he waited until her breathing steadied into sleep before slipping from their bed. In his home office, he pulled up the security alerts from earlier. 6 attempted logins to the company's financial archive, all from Savannah's laptop. He dialed a number. Kinda late, boss, answered Jake Wilder, Mercer Tech's head of cybersecurity. Need a favor? Off the books, Travis said. Can you recover deleted files from an encrypted cloud backup? Sure, but my wife's laptop, tomorrow, while she's at lunch. A pause. You sure about this? Travis looked back toward the bedroom door. Never been more sure of anything in my life. 3 days later, Travis sat across from Jake in a private room at the Capitol Grill. The restaurant hummed with Wall Street power lunches, but their booth in the back corner offered complete privacy. Jake slid a thumb drive across the table. Found some interesting stuff, boss. You're not going to like it. Travis pocketed the drive. Give me the headlines. 3 burner phones, purchased on your corporate card over the last 6 months. Shell company incorporated in the Caymans called Viper Ventures. And a contract, drafted on her computer but never sent through official company channels, authorizing a $2 million payment to Viper for consulting services. Travis's face remained impassive, but his hand tightened around his water glass. Anything else? Jake hesitated. Weekly meetings blocked out for a Women in Finance initiative. No such program exists at Mercer Tech. Who's she meeting with? Can't tell for sure, but Jake pulled out his phone, showed Travis a photo. This was taken yesterday during her supposed lunch with the CMO. That's not your chief marketing officer. The photo showed Savannah in a corner booth at a hotel bar, leaning intimately toward a man whose face was partially obscured. But Travis would recognize that weak jawline and those designer glasses anywhere. That's my brother, Jake nodded grimly. They've met 6 times in the last month. Always off-site, always during work hours. Travis felt the cold stillness settle over him, the same detached clarity he'd experienced behind a rifle scope. Keep monitoring, full-spectrum surveillance. I want to know what they're planning. Boss, are you sure? War isn't won with half measures, Jake. Travis stood, straightening his tie. I learned that in Fallujah. That evening, Savannah breezed through the penthouse in a flurry of activity, packing an overnight bag. Chicago conference, she explained, zipping her suitcase. Women in finance panel. I told you last week. Travis lounged on the bed, watching her. Did you? Must have slipped my mind. Well, not everything can be as important as your precious deals. She kissed his cheek. Don't wait up tomorrow. Late flight back. After she left, Travis opened his laptop and pulled up the GPS tracker he'd placed in her purse. The dot moved not toward LaGuardia, but Teterboro Airport, where private jets departed. His phone pinged with an alert from Jake. S. Mercer boarding N628 VM to Miami. Passenger manifest includes B. Mercer. Travis pulled up the registration for the aircraft, owned by Viper Ventures LLC. His phone buzzed again with a final message from Jake. Viper Ventures LLC filing shows S. Mercer as CEO. Your company funds were used for incorporation fees. Travis closed his laptop and walked to the bar. He poured 3 fingers of bourbon and raised it toward the Manhattan skyline. Game on, darlin', he murmured. Game on. Miami's heat hit Travis like a physical force as he exited the private terminal at Opa-locka Executive Airport. Unlike his wife, he'd flown commercial, sitting in coach, baseball cap pulled low, beard stubble disguising his usually clean-shaven face. Invisibility was a skill he'd mastered long before Silicon Valley came calling. He picked up the rental car, a forgettable gray sedan, and pulled into traffic, following the tracking app on his phone. Savannah's signal placed her at the St. Regis Bal Harbor, where a suite was booked under Brent Mercer's name. Travis parked across Collins Avenue, watching the hotel entrance through binoculars. At 7:23 p.m., his patience was rewarded. Savannah emerged in a white sundress, large sunglasses masking her face despite the setting sun. Behind her walked Brent, shorter than Travis, softer around the edges, but wearing a watch that cost more than most people's cars. Always trying to compensate, Travis muttered, snapping photos as they climbed into a red Ferrari. The car roared to life and pulled away from the valet stand. Travis followed at a distance, tracking them to an upscale restaurant in South Beach. He parked and approached on foot, slipping the maitre d' $200 for a table with sightlines to the couple. Absolutely convinced him the Singapore investors are solid, Brent was saying as Travis got within earshot. But they'll pull out next week, triggering the stock slide. Savannah sipped her champagne. And the board? 3 already committed. Peterson wavering. Once Travis starts showing cracks. He will, Savannah interrupted, her accent thicker than usual, the way it got when she drank. I've been documenting his episodes for months. The nightmares, the paranoia, the peace in the nightstand. I've got Dr. Wyman ready to sign off on a PTSD diagnosis dating back to Fallujah. Brent laughed. Funny how his military heroism was such a selling point when you marketed him to investors. Now it's his Achilles heel. Everything's a weapon if you know how to use it. She reached across the table, squeezing Brent's hand. Speaking of which, your new legal team finished reviewing the shareholder agreement. We found the loophole. Travis gripped his water glass so tightly he thought it might shatter. Wyman wasn't his doctor. He'd never met the man. They were fabricating medical records. Once we trigger the mental competency clause, Brent continued, temporary control shifts to the COO, that would be me, while the board evaluates. By then, the secret merger with Ventrust will be announced. Stock jumps, we cash out, and Big Brother becomes a footnote in the corporate history. Savannah's smile was predatory. And what about me, partner? Brent's eyes darted to her lips. 20% of shares, VP position at the new company, and he leaned forward to whisper something that made Savannah laugh. You always were the bad brother, she purred. And you always liked bad, Brent replied. Travis had seen enough. He left cash on the table and slipped out, bile rising in his throat. Back at his hotel room, he called Jake. I need everything on Dr. Edward Wyman, psychiatrist, Travis said, and I need surveillance equipment. Top grade, untraceable. Heading into enemy territory, Jake observed. Need backup? Travis thought of the way Savannah had looked at Brent. No, this is personal. 3 days later, Travis had amassed enough intelligence to understand the scope of their betrayal. Bugs planted in Brent's Ferrari and hotel suite had captured hours of conversation. Travis listened to them plot his downfall with the same methodical focus he'd once used to track enemy movements through sniper scopes. He'd learned that Dr. Wyman had never treated him but had created a false file documenting increasingly erratic behavior consistent with untreated PTSD. He'd discovered that Savannah had been recording his nightmares, editing the footage to make his sleep disturbances seem more violent than they were. Most damning, he'd found emails where Savannah referred to him as a trigger-happy dinosaur with trauma brain when discussing him with board members. In their Miami suite, listening devices captured more intimate betrayals. Savannah's laughter as she detailed Travis's inadequacies in bed. Brent's promises of how life would be once the dinosaur is extinct. On the third night, Travis sat in his hotel room, headphones on, as the bugs transmitted their conversation. To new beginnings, Savannah's voice came through clearly, the sound of glasses clinking. You take the company, I take what's left of him. You think he suspects? Brent asked. Travis? Please. Man sees what he wants to see. I've been playing him since Mississippi. Her voice dropped lower. You know what he told me when he came back to that diner the second day? Said I was too smart to be serving truckers. Like he was saving me. Weren't you broke, though? Brent laughed. Honey, I was broke, not broken. The sound of ice in a glass. Travis needed someone to fix. I needed a ladder. Fair exchange. And now? Now I'm fixing to claim what I earned. 8 years playing the grateful charity case? That penthouse is mine by right. Travis removed his headphones and stared at the wall. The cold fury he felt was familiar. The same icy calm that had allowed him to lie motionless for 18 hours waiting for a target in the Iraqi desert. He opened his laptop and began typing. Contingency protocol, Operation Snakebite. By morning, he had formulated his counterstrike. They thought him a dinosaur? Time to show them what extinction really looked like. Back in New York, Travis moved with calculated precision. He met privately with 2 board members he trusted, Daniels and Yoshida, sharing select pieces of evidence. This is disturbing, Yoshida said, reviewing the documents, but not conclusive. I'm not asking for action yet, Travis replied. Just watch and wait. They'll make their move at next week's board meeting. Daniels frowned. What are you planning, Travis? To give them exactly what they want. Travis then reached out to Sarah Kim, a Wall Street Journal reporter who had covered Mercer Tech's rise favorably. Off the record, he told her over coffee at a nondescript diner. I need you to be ready when this breaks. Exclusive access, but you can't move until I give the signal. What exactly am I waiting for? She asked. Travis slid an envelope across the table. Corporate espionage, fraud, and a coup attempt orchestrated by my own family. But you'll need to verify everything independently. I'm just pointing you to the trail. Why me? Because you care about facts, not clickbait. He stood to leave. And because when a man is about to be painted as mentally unstable, he needs allies with credibility. The board meeting was set for Thursday. On Tuesday night, Travis and Savannah attended a charity gala at the Metropolitan Museum. She wore red, his favorite color, on her. He wondered if that was calculated too. You've been distant, she said as they posed for photographers on the red carpet. Everything okay? Just focused on the Singapore deal, he replied, his arm around her waist feeling like it was encircling a stranger. Board meeting's important. You work too hard. Her concern sounded genuine. I worry about you, baby. Later, as they mingled with New York's elite, Travis watched her work the room. She was magnificent, charming CEOs flattering their wives, cementing Mercer Tech's place in the social hierarchy. It had been her gift to him, translating his military directness into the language of old money and new tech. Had it all been a lie? Every smile, every touch, every "I'm proud of you, baby" whispered in the dark? His phone vibrated. A text from Jake. B. Mercer met with Peterson today. Board now 5-4 against you. They're moving tomorrow, not Thursday. Savannah approached, 2 champagne flutes in hand. You look like you could use this. Travis accepted the glass. Thank you, darling. She searched his face. What's wrong? Just thinking about loyalty, he said, raising his glass in a toast, to having someone you can trust at your back. Something flickered behind her eyes. Doubt or guilt, he couldn't tell. But she clinked her glass against his. To trust, she echoed. Travis drained his champagne in one swallow. I need to make a call. Singapore investors. In the museum's quiet corridor, he called Jake. Move everything up. Tonight. They're not ready. Neither are we. Do it anyway. Travis returned to find Savannah deep in conversation with another couple. He touched her elbow. Time to go, darlin'. Early morning. In the car, her hand found his thigh. You sure you're okay? You seem tense? Travis covered her hand with his. Just business pressure. Nothing I can't handle. Her phone pinged. She checked it, trying to angle the screen away from him. Brent. Everything's set for tomorrow. V confirms documents ready. Work? Travis asked innocently. Just the event coordinator for the Chicago conference next month. She put the phone away quickly. Nothing important. Travis nodded and looked out the window, his reflection in the glass revealing nothing of the storm within. Back at the penthouse, Savannah headed for the shower. While water ran, Travis quickly accessed her laptop using the password he'd observed her typing days earlier. He copied files to a thumb drive, then replaced everything exactly as he'd found it. When she emerged, wrapped in a towel, he was in bed reading financial reports. Coming to bed, workaholic? She asked, dropping her towel. Travis set aside his papers. For a moment, looking at her, he felt a stab of what might have been grief. In another life, they could have been happy. I ever tell you about the time in Fallujah when we tracked a bomb maker for 6 days? He asked conversationally. She paused, confused by the non sequitur. I don't think so. Guy was smart, kept moving, changing patterns, but everyone makes mistakes. Travis folded his hands behind his head. Know what his was? What? She slipped into a silk nightgown. He got comfortable, thought he was invisible. Travis smiled thinly. Night before we took the shot, he sat on his porch drinking tea like he didn't have a care in the world. Savannah climbed into bed beside him. Is this a business metaphor I'm missing? Just thinking about complacency. He kissed her forehead. Good night, darling. Good night, baby. She turned away, reaching for her phone one last time. Travis closed his eyes, not sleeping. Tomorrow, the war would begin in earnest. The Mercer Tech boardroom hummed with tension. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Manhattan, but no one was admiring the skyline today. 9 board members sat around the gleaming table, with Travis at the head. Brent, as COO, sat to his right. Savannah, though not a board member, had been invited to present quarterly PR metrics. She wore navy blue, serious, trustworthy. Her presentation was flawless, outlining media wins and brand perception improvements. Anyone watching would see only a dedicated executive. But Travis saw the subtle glances between her and Brent. The way Peterson fidgeted with his pen, how Richardson kept checking his watch. As Savannah concluded, Peterson cleared his throat. Before we move to the next agenda item, I'd like to raise a matter of concern. Travis noted how Brent straightened slightly. Game time. The floor is yours, Jim, Travis said. There are questions about the Singapore deal. Peterson shuffled papers. Specifically, investor confidence in current leadership. Travis raised an eyebrow. Interesting. First I'm hearing of this. With respect, Brent interjected. That's part of the problem. There have been communication issues. Communication issues, Travis repeated flatly. What Brent means, Savannah said, her tone conciliatory, is that investors have expressed concerns about company direction. I have emails. I bet you do? Travis stood slowly. Funny thing about emails, they leave trails. He pressed a button on the conference phone. Jake, you there? Here, boss. Jake's voice filled the room. Tell the board what you found. Fabricated correspondence with the Singapore group, Jake reported. Created on Mrs. Mercer's laptop, never actually sent to any investors. Also, extensive communication with the doctor, Edward Wyman, regarding a psychiatric evaluation for Mr. Mercer, Travis Mercer, despite him never having been a patient. Murmurs broke out around the table. Savannah's face drained of color. That's absurd, Brent sputtered. Jake works for you. He'd say anything. Would he? Travis turned to his brother. Like your paid board members would say anything? Like Peterson, who accepted a consulting contract with Viper Ventures last month? Peterson paled. How did you— Enough! Travis slammed his hand on the table. Files scattered. 8 years I built this company from nothing. 8 years of sweat and sacrifice while you, he pointed at Brent, counted your stock options and played executive with my name. Travis, please. Savannah stepped toward him. You're not well. We're all concerned. Concerned? Travis laughed bitterly. Is that what you call it? Planning to have me declared mentally incompetent? Forging medical records? Cheating with my brother while stealing my company? Gasps echoed around the table. Yoshida and Daniels exchanged knowing glances. They'd been briefed to expect this. Travis grabbed a file and hurled it across the room. Papers exploded in the air. You want unstable? I'll show you unstable. He rounded on Brent, grabbing him by the lapels. You were my blood. Security rushed in, pulling Travis away. He didn't resist, allowing himself to be escorted out, shouting, This isn't over. You hear me? This isn't over. In the elevator, once the doors closed, Travis straightened his tie and nodded to the security guards, his own men, briefed in advance. Nice work, he told them. Make sure the surveillance footage gets to Jake immediately. The next morning, headlines screamed, Mercer Tech CEO suffers breakdown at board meeting. Travis Mercer removed temporarily. Amid mental health concerns, Brent Mercer named acting CEO in brother's absence. Travis read them from a secure location, not the psychiatric facility where Savannah told the press he had voluntarily committed himself, but a friend's guest house in Connecticut. Jake arrived with lunch and updates. They bought it completely. Savannah's already moved her things into the master bedroom at your apartment. Brent's calling emergency meetings with the major clients. And the board? Split. Yoshida and Daniels are playing along, asking the right skeptical questions but not pushing too hard. Travis nodded, reviewing printed emails and text messages. The SEC contact? Ready when you are, but once we pull that trigger, there's no going back. Travis stood at the window, watching boats on Long Island Sound. Give me 48 hours. During those 2 days, Travis monitored from afar as Savannah and Brent consolidated power. They issued press releases expressing concern for his mental health. Savannah gave a tearful interview about his brave battle with PTSD. Brent announced a temporary reorganization that removed Travis's closest allies from leadership positions. What they didn't know was that Travis had already set his counterattack in motion. The Wall Street Journal was quietly verifying his evidence. 2 SEC investigators were reviewing the shell company trail, and the psychological evaluation by Dr. Wyman was being scrutinized by the Medical Licensing Board. On the 3rd day, Travis made his move. First came the text to Savannah. My therapy's going great. You're next on the table. Within minutes, Jake reported her panicked call to Brent. She's scared, Jake said, trying to figure out where you really are. Good, Travis replied, checking his watch. Right on schedule. How's our WSJ contact? Sarah's running the story tomorrow, front page business section. Travis nodded. And the board packet? Delivered to all members an hour ago. Documented proof of the conspiracy, including Savannah's recorded conversation about framing you as mentally unstable. Perfect. Travis straightened his tie. Hugo Boss. Savannah's last Christmas gift to him. Ironic. Time to rise from the dead. The Mercer Tech executive floor fell silent as the elevator doors opened. Travis stepped out, clean-shaven, immaculate in a charcoal suit. His security team flanked him. Employees froze, then scrambled for phones. By the time he reached the boardroom where Brent was conducting an emergency strategy session, word had already spread. Travis pushed open the double doors without knocking. Brent stood at the head of the table, Travis's position, mid-sentence. He froze, face draining of color. Travis, he managed. We thought that I was heavily sedated in a psych ward? Travis smiled coldly. Disappointed? Board members shifted uncomfortably. Yoshida hid a small smile. This is highly irregular, Peterson began. Your mental health leave was fictional. Travis tossed a folder onto the table. As fictional as my psychiatric records created by a doctor. Wyman, who, as we speak, is explaining to the medical board why he diagnosed a patient he never met. Travis activated the conference room screen, displaying an email from Savannah to Brent. Once he's declared incompetent, we'll have 72 hours to complete the Ventrust deal before anyone looks too closely. Fraud, Travis said quietly. Securities fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy. The SEC has opened an investigation this morning. You can't prove, Brent started. Can I? Travis pressed a button on his phone. Savannah's voice filled the room. I've been documenting his episodes for months. The nightmares, the paranoia, the peace in the nightstand. I've got Dr. Wyman ready to sign off on a PTSD diagnosis dating back to Fallujah. Then Brent's reply. Once we trigger the mental competency clause, temporary control shifts to the COO, that would be me, while the board evaluates. Silence fell. Travis looked each board member in the eye. I've submitted evidence to the authorities. Anyone who participated knowingly will face charges. Peterson stood abruptly. I had no knowledge of fabricated medical records. Save it for the deposition, Jim. Travis turned to his brother. You're fired, effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Brent's face contorted with rage. You self-righteous prick. You think you're so perfect? You've had this coming since Fallujah. You left men behind. I went back for them, Travis said quietly, while you ran, just like you're running now. Brent exploded. Like hell I am, he roared, shoving the conference table hard, scattering files and coffee cups. In 2 strides, he closed the distance and swung a wild punch. It connected, barely, glancing off Travis's jaw. But Travis didn't flinch. He took a step forward, grabbed Brent by the collar, and slammed him back against the glass wall so hard the boardroom rattled. You want to finish Fallujah? Travis growled, his voice low and cold. Let's do it. Right here. Right now. Security surged forward, but Travis raised a hand without turning. Let him swing again. Brent tried. Another blind strike. Travis caught his wrist midair and twisted. Brent crumpled to his knees, gasping. Travis leaned down, lips close to his brother's ear. That was for Ramirez and Dalton. You don't get to speak their names. Then he stepped back. Now escort him out. Brent was hauled to his feet, eyes wild, breath ragged, blood trickling from a split lip. As he was dragged from the room, he spat toward the board. He's a lunatic. You're backing a ticking bomb. No one answered. As security led Brent away, Travis addressed the remaining board members. Emergency shareholder meeting, tomorrow at 9. I suggest those of you implicated in this coup attempt tender your resignations before then. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and someone tell my wife I'll be home for dinner. She might want to pack. Savannah was halfway through her 3rd gin and tonic when the penthouse elevator chimed. She froze, tumbler halfway to her lips as Travis stepped into the foyer. He looked different, harder, colder than the man who'd left for the office 3 days earlier. He set his briefcase down carefully, methodically, like a bomb technician handling explosives. Travis, she managed, southern drawl thickened by alcohol and fear. They said that you had a breakdown? He removed his suit jacket, hanging it precisely on the coat rack. Disappointing how easily people believe what they're told. She set her glass down, hands trembling slightly. Baby, I've been worried sick. Brent said you were getting help. Stop. His voice was soft, but carried the weight of a command. Military voice. Lying will only make this worse for you. Savannah's face hardened, mask slipping. What exactly do you think you know? Everything. Travis loosened his tie. The shell company, the coup attempt, the forged medical records. Your affair with my brother. She laughed, a brittle sound. Affair, please? Brent was a means to an end. And what end was that? Getting what I earned. She stood, smoothing her silk robe. 8 years, Travis. 8 years playing the perfect corporate wife, supporting your ambitions, hiding your issues. My issues, he nodded slowly. Like the PTSD you and Brent fabricated. Fabricated? I've watched you check the locks 3 times every night for years. Seen you wake up in cold sweats. You keep a loaded gun in your nightstand. She stepped closer. You're not well, baby. Never have been. The difference, Travis said, is between having demons and being controlled by them. I know mine. Do you? Her eyes narrowed. What have you done? What you taught me to do. Play the game. He pulled out his phone, showing her the WSJ headline scheduled for morning. Mercer Tech coup exposed. CEO framed in mental health scandal. The color drained from her face. You can't. I already have. He put the phone away. The SEC has frozen all assets connected to Viper Ventures. The board members you bribed are cooperating to save themselves. And Brent, Travis smiled thinly. Brent folded like wet cardboard. She took a step back. You're bluffing. Am I? He moved to the bar, pouring himself a scotch. Tell me, was any of it real? Or was I just a ladder out of Mississippi from the beginning? Something flickered in her eyes. Pride, perhaps, or the thrill of finally dropping pretense. Does it matter now? No, he admitted. I suppose it doesn't. Savannah turned away, gathering herself. When she faced him again, her expression had softened, vulnerability replacing defiance. Travis, baby, we can work this out. Whatever you think happened, don't. His voice cut like steel. 8 years of lying is enough. Fine. The mask dropped completely. Then what happens now? You gonna drag us all through the mud? Ruin the company? Burn everything down to punish me? No, Savannah. I'm going to do what I should have done in Fallujah. Extract my assets and let the enemy destroy themselves. He raised his glass in a mock toast. You and Brent were always meant for each other, traitors of a feather. Her hand moved so fast he almost didn't see it coming. The crystal tumbler shattered against the wall where his head had been a second earlier. You arrogant, she screamed, Mississippi accent thick as molasses now. You think you saved me? I saved your boring, traumatized ass from a life of corporate mediocrity. I made you interesting. I made you connected. I turned your tech babble into a brand people cared about. Travis remained perfectly still, watching her unravel with clinical detachment. No, he said calmly. You saw an opportunity and exploited it. There's a difference. And what opportunity was that? She hissed. A decent man with money who couldn't see past a pretty face and a sad story? He set his glass down. Classic con. I should have recognized it, she laughed bitterly. Just because it wasn't love doesn't mean it was a con. It was business, Travis, a fair exchange. Then our business is concluded. He picked up his briefcase. I'll be staying at the Four Seasons until this is settled. Your lawyer can contact mine about divorce proceedings. You think a divorce will hurt me? She scoffed. Half of everything is mine. New York state law? Travis paused at the elevator. Not when fraud is involved, and especially not when there's a prenup with an infidelity clause. Her confidence faltered. What prenup? I never signed. Check page 18 of our wedding contract. The one you were too excited about the wedding planner budget to read carefully? The elevator doors opened. Turns out I wasn't always as trusting as you thought. The doors closed on her stunned face. The following morning, the story broke wide. Sarah Kim's meticulously researched Wall Street Journal piece laid out the entire conspiracy, complete with documentary evidence and recorded conversations. By noon, Mercer Tech stock had plunged 15%. By market close, the SEC had announced a formal investigation into Brent Mercer and several board members. Savannah's PR expertise transformed into a liability as former clients distanced themselves. 3 charity boards requested her resignation by day's end. Travis watched it unfold from his temporary headquarters in a Four Seasons suite. Jake provided hourly updates. Brent's lawyer called, Jake reported. He wants to talk deal. No deals, Travis replied, reviewing documents. He betrayed his country in Fallujah and his family in New York. Let him face both. And Savannah? Travis paused. Despite everything, hearing her name still triggered something. Not love anymore, but the phantom pain of an amputated limb. What about her? She's giving interviews trying to spin this as a mental health issue again, saying you're having an episode and that she's concerned for your well-being. Travis nodded. Let her talk. The evidence speaks louder. But Savannah was formidable, leveraging years of media connections. By evening, several outlets were running sympathetic pieces, questioning whether Travis's military background had left him paranoid and unstable. She's good, Jake admitted, showing Travis the coverage, playing the concerned wife angle hard. Travis studied the image of Savannah on a morning show, eyes dampened with precisely timed tears. She always could perform. It's what drew me to her in that diner, the way she could be exactly what each customer needed. What's our counterplay? Travis checked his watch. Court filing in 30 minutes. Time to show our full hand. The emergency hearing for a temporary restraining order against both Savannah and Brent was held in a Manhattan courthouse. Travis arrived early, his legal team in tow. When Savannah entered, Chanel suit, subtle makeup, grieving wife persona in full effect, he didn't acknowledge her. Her attorney, a sharp-featured woman in her 50s, approached Travis's team during a break. My client is willing to consider a quiet settlement, she offered. Equal division of marital assets, mutual non-disclosure. Travis's lead counsel, Martinson, a former JAG officer Travis had served with in Iraq, smiled thinly. That would be inadvisable. The alternative is a very public, very messy divorce, the attorney warned. Mr. Mercer's mental health history will be thoroughly examined. We look forward to it, Martinson replied. When the hearing resumed, Travis's team presented the evidence. Shell company documents, forged medical records, audio recordings of Savannah and Brent discussing the coup. The judge, a stern woman with 30 years on the bench, listened impassively. When Travis's attorney requested a freeze on all joint assets pending resolution, Savannah's lawyer objected. Your Honor, my client is being financially strangled by a vindictive husband in the midst of a psychological crisis. Mrs. Mercer has supported his recovery for years, and if I may, Your Honor, Travis interrupted, standing. The judge assessed him. You may speak, Mr. Mercer. I'd like to submit one additional piece of evidence. He nodded to Martinson, who handed the judge a sealed envelope. What is this? The judge asked. Evidence that Mrs. Mercer's concern for my well-being is selective. Travis turned to face Savannah for the first time, and that her business interests extend beyond corporate finance. The judge opened the envelope, examined its contents, and looked up sharply. Counsel, approach. After a whispered conference, Savannah's lawyer returned to her client, face grim. Savannah glanced at the papers and, for the first time since Travis had known her, appeared genuinely shocked. This is a violation of privacy, she hissed, color high in her cheeks. What privacy? Travis asked quietly. You sold the footage yourself. The judge cleared her throat. In light of this new evidence, I'm granting the temporary restraining order and asset freeze. Mrs. Mercer is prohibited from accessing any joint financial accounts or entering properties owned by Mr. Mercer or Mercer Tech until further hearings. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Savannah pushed through, ignoring questions, her composure finally cracking. Travis approached the microphones. I'll make one statement. I trusted someone who betrayed that trust. I believed in someone who manufactured a false reality. That ends today. Mercer Tech remains strong, its leadership intact, and its future secure. Thank you. As he walked to his waiting car, a reporter shouted, Mr. Mercer, what was in the envelope that upset your wife so badly? Travis paused. Ask her about Miss Mercer X. I believe she has quite the following online. By nightfall, the story had exploded. Tech blogs, tabloids, and financial press pieced together what Travis had only hinted at. For years, Savannah had been secretly recording intimate moments in their penthouse and selling the edited footage on an encrypted platform under the username Miss Mercer X. The financial scope was staggering. Hundreds of thousands in cryptocurrency payments flowing into offshore accounts. The moral betrayal was worse. The man whose privacy she had violated was a decorated veteran she claimed to be protecting. Travis watched the coverage from his hotel suite, feeling hollow rather than vindicated. His phone hadn't stopped ringing. Board members, investors, reporters. He answered none of them. Only when Jake called did he pick up. You okay, boss? Jake asked. I've been better. The penthouse is secure. I've changed all the codes as ordered. Travis nodded, though Jake couldn't see him. And the other matter? Done. Foreclosure proceedings filed this morning. Fast-tracked through your banking connections. The real estate holding company you created last month is the only bidder. Make sure the paperwork is on her pillow when she returns, Travis said. Poetic justice. Will do. Jake paused. For what it's worth, none of us ever liked her. After hanging up, Travis stood at the window looking out at the city lights. 8 years ago, he'd brought Savannah to New York, convinced he was rescuing a diamond in the rough. Now he understood. Some people didn't want to be rescued. They wanted to conquer. His phone buzzed with a text from Brent. We need to talk. Family to family. Travis deleted it without responding. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt once burned. Another text came through from an unknown number. You think you've won? This is just the beginning. I made you once. I can break you just as easily. As Travis switched off his phone and poured himself a scotch. Tomorrow would bring new battles. For tonight, he would honor the casualties of this one. 63 days after Travis exposed the conspiracy, he sat in a federal courthouse observing Brent's plea hearing. His brother, hollow-cheeked and gray-skinned from 2 months of legal pressure, stood before the judge. The defendant pleads guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit securities fraud, Brent's attorney announced. Travis felt nothing as the judge accepted the plea and set a sentencing date. Afterward, in the courthouse corridor, Brent approached, flanked by his lawyer. Travis, he called. 5 minutes. Please. Against his better judgment, Travis nodded, following them to a conference room. Once alone, Brent's composure crumbled. They're talking 8 to 10 years. Light, considering, Travis replied. I'm your brother. You were my brother in Fallujah, too. Travis leaned forward. 2 men died because you broke formation. Brent's face contorted. That was different. We were being shot at. And this time you were shooting at me. Travis stood. We're done here. Wait, Brent grabbed his arm. Savannah, she's not who you think. Travis removed Brent's hand. I know exactly who she is now. No, you don't. Brent's voice dropped. She approached me first 3 years ago, said she had a plan to take control of the company, said she'd been planning it since before you married her. Something cold settled in Travis's stomach. Why are you telling me this now? Because she's still out there, and she's not done with you. Brent sank into a chair. I was a means to an end, too. She's already setting me up for the next fall, Travis. I heard her on the phone calling me dead weight. Travis studied his brother, searching for another lie. What else? The Miss Mercer X account? It wasn't just about money. She was collecting leverage on everyone. Politicians, CEOs, anyone who watched her videos. She has viewer data, payment information. Blackmail, Travis concluded. Brent nodded miserably. She called it insurance. Travis turned to leave. At the door, he paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry it came to this. Brent looked up, eyes hollow. No, you're not. But you should be careful. She's not just angry, Travis. She's strategic. The divorce proceedings moved rapidly, accelerated by the criminal investigations surrounding both Savannah and Brent. Travis's legal team had built an airtight case for fraud and breach of contract, voiding any claim Savannah might have had to Mercer Tech assets. Still, she fought viciously, leaking damaging personal details to the press and attempting to rally public sympathy. But the Miss Mercer X revelation had turned the tide of public opinion decidedly against her. Desperate, she attempted a final gambit. I'm Mr. Mercer, her attorney began at a settlement conference. My client is prepared to drop all claims in exchange for one concession. Travis raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. She wishes to retain residence in the Manhattan property for a period of 6 months, with a stipend for living expenses. Travis's attorney started to object, but Travis held up a hand. Why? The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Mercer has suffered significant reputational damage. She needs time to rebuild her career and secure new housing. Travis studied Savannah across the table. Her designer outfit couldn't hide the strain of recent weeks, but her eyes remained calculating. No, he said simply. Be reasonable, her attorney pressed. 6 months in a property you don't even use anymore. I said no. Travis gathered his papers. The penthouse has already been sold to MWR Holdings. They take possession next week. Savannah's composure finally cracked. You son of a witch, you sold our home? I sold my home, Travis corrected. To myself through a shell corporation. Learned that trick from you, darling. Her face flushed with fury. This isn't over. Actually, it is, Travis nodded to his attorney. We're done here. Savannah's chair scraped back sharply. You smug bastard, she hissed, voice rising to a shriek as she surged toward Travis. Before anyone could react, she lunged at him, fingernails flashing like claws. Her hand raked across his face, leaving 3 red gashes down his cheek. Gasps echoed in the room. Travis staggered a half step back as Savannah tore at his jacket, ripping the lapel clean open with a shrill snarl. Get her off him, someone shouted. 2 paralegals and a guard grabbed her arms and pulled her away, her limbs flailing, heels scraping across the polished floor, mascara streaking as she screamed curses at the top of her lungs. You think you've won? You think this is the end? I'll ruin you, Travis. You think this is the end? Travis calmly reached into his breast pocket, pulled out a monogrammed handkerchief, and dabbed the blood from his cheek. Then he adjusted his torn jacket, gave it a brief glance, and turned to the judge. I'm not pressing charges, he said. His voice was level, steady. Let her keep what dignity she has left. And with that, he picked up his briefcase and walked out, slow and unshaken. Behind him, Savannah kept screaming, a storm of broken threats, wild sobs, and venomous cries echoing through the hallway. As they left the conference room, Martinson muttered, She looked ready to end you. She's tried worse, Travis replied. Have Jake increase security at headquarters and arrange for Savannah to receive the eviction notice, personally. The civil trial that would determine final financial settlements began 3 weeks later. Travis testified for 2 days, outlining the conspiracy in meticulous detail. Financial experts traced the money trail. Technology specialists explained how Savannah had accessed protected company files. Then came the day Travis had been waiting for. Savannah took the stand. She had abandoned the grieving wife persona, instead presenting herself as a shrewd businesswoman who had contributed significantly to Mercer Tech's success. In a tailored navy suit, hair pulled back severely, she projected confident competence. Mrs. Mercer, her attorney began, please explain your role at Mercer Tech. I built the company's brand from nothing, she stated. When I met Travis, he had technological expertise, but no market presence. I created the public narrative that allowed Mercer Tech to secure its first major funding round. And were you compensated for this work? Minimally. Her voice hardened. Travis preferred to keep me dependent. My official salary as VP of Public Relations was well below market rate. I was expected to be grateful. During cross-examination, Martinson approached casually. Mrs. Mercer, you claim you were undercompensated. Yet you enjoyed a lifestyle that included a Manhattan penthouse, private jet travel, and a jewelry collection valued at over $3 million. Is that correct? Those were marital assets, she replied stiffly. Indeed. Now regarding Miss Mercer X? Martinson let the name hang in the air. Whispers rippled through the courtroom. Savannah's jaw tightened. I decline to discuss anonymous internet accounts allegedly attributed to me. Your Honor, Martinson addressed the judge, I'd like to enter into evidence Exhibit 147B. The bailiff distributed sealed folders to the judge and attorneys. Savannah's lawyer reviewed the contents, face paling. Your Honor, I request a brief recess to confer with my client. Denied, the judge replied. Proceed, counsel. Martinson turned back to Savannah. Mrs. Mercer, this exhibit contains financial records showing cryptocurrency transfers from the Miss Mercer X account to your personal offshore account in the Caymans, the same account that received funds from Viper Ventures. Do you wish to revise your statement? Savannah's eyes darted to Travis, then back to Martinson. Those records are inadmissible. They were obtained illegally. On the contrary, Martinson smiled. They were provided by the FBI's Cybercrimes Division pursuant to a warrant. Would you like me to call the special agent who executed that warrant? The courtroom fell silent. Savannah's carefully constructed facade began to crack. Mrs. Mercer, Martinson continued, did you or did you not record intimate activities in your marital home without Mr. Mercer's knowledge or consent, then sell those recordings for profit? She looked directly at Travis. I did what was necessary to secure my future. Please answer the question, the judge instructed. Savannah's shoulders squared. Yes. A murmur swept through the courtroom. Travis remained expressionless, though inwardly the confirmation landed like a physical blow. And did you conspire with Brent Mercer to seize control of Mercer Tech through fraudulent means? It wasn't fraud, she hissed. It was strategy. Travis was running the company into the ground with his outdated military mindset. We were saving it. By fabricating mental health records? By creating false communications from investors? By doing what needed to be done. Her Mississippi accent broke through as her composure shattered. You think Travis built that company? I made him. I took a broken ex-soldier with nightmares and panic attacks and turned him into someone Wall Street would follow. Every investor meeting, every media appearance, that was me, crafting his image, hiding his weakness. Silence fell over the courtroom. Travis felt dozens of eyes turn to him, waiting for a reaction. He gave none. No further questions, Your Honor, Martinson said quietly. The trial concluded 3 days later. The judge's ruling was devastating for Savannah. No alimony, no ownership stake in Mercer Tech, and a finding of deliberate fraud that voided all claims to marital assets. Outside the courthouse, reporters mobbed both parties. Savannah pushed through without comment, face taut with suppressed rage. When she reached her car, she found a final document served by a court officer, eviction papers for the penthouse, effective immediately. Travis approached the microphones calmly. Justice was served today, not just for me, but for every investor and employee at Mercer Tech who was deceived. I'm grateful to put this chapter behind us and focus on innovation again. A reporter shouted, Do you regret ever marrying her? Travis paused, considering. The cameras closed in, waiting. He thought of the diner in Mississippi, of Savannah's smile when he'd first walked in, of how genuine it had seemed. You don't regret taming a wild dog, he finally said, voice carrying clearly. You regret turning your back. He walked away, alone but unshaken, as cameras flashed behind him. 6 months later, Travis stood on the terrace of his new home, a modernist structure on the Hudson River, far from the Manhattan penthouse that held too many false memories. Jake joined him, tablet in hand. Quarterly numbers are strong. Stock's up 17% since the trial. And the other situation? Monitored as requested. Jake hesitated. She's in Miami, working as a consultant for some tech startups, still using the Miss Mercer X platform, but more discreetly. Travis nodded, unsurprised. And Brent? Serving his sentence at Otisville, 4 years with good behavior? Jake studied his boss. You never visit? Some bridges stay burned. Travis turned from the view. Any word from the potential Japanese partners? Meeting confirmed for next week. They're especially interested in the new security protocols. Travis smiled faintly. Ironic. We built better firewalls because of her. Later that night, alone in his study, Travis opened his laptop to review the day's reports. A notification appeared. Unusual activity on his private server. Someone was attempting to breach his personal files. He traced the intrusion to a Miami IP address. For a moment, his finger hovered over the alert button that would summon Jake and the security team. Then he smiled and closed the laptop without action. Some hunters needed to believe their prey remained unaware. Some predators needed to learn that former victims could grow new teeth. Travis poured himself a scotch and raised it toward the distant lights of Manhattan. Good hunting, darling, he murmured. I'll be waiting. In the digital shadows, the game continued. Two predators circling, watching, waiting for the next move in a dance that had merely changed venues, not ended. But this time, Travis Mercer wouldn't turn his back.